Namaste. Welcome to the lecture series on the subject Applied Thermodynamics. This is Module 5 in that part 2, Steam Nozzles. So this is lecture number 7. Myself Dr. N. Satish Kumar, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Canara Engineering College, Bantwal. So in the part 1 of this Module 5, we studied air compressors. So now we'll move on to the part 2, that is the steam nozzles. So what is a steam nozzle? So it's a passage of varying cross section which converts heat energy of steam into kinetic energy with minimum loss. So a passage of varying cross section which converts heat energy of steam into kinetic energy. So it has three parts. Converging part, as you can see, there is actually the diagram shows three different types of nozzles. Convergent, divergent and convergent divergent. So here the converging part means you can see the diameter reduces. So this is purely convergent nozzle, but here you can see from here to here it is converging part, then the diameter increasing, so that is the divergent part. So here steam increases its velocity, that is the converging part. So diverging part, so that is we are talking about a convergent divergent nozzle. So in the diverging part, the steam derives more in volume than in velocity. But again, so it gains in velocity, but it gains more in volume. Now, between convergent and divergent part, so there is a small cross-sectional area. So there is a small section of the nozzle, so it is called as the throat. So we are talking about a nozzle in the sense it is a convergent divergent nozzle. Okay. Now the mass of the steam which passes through any section of the nozzle remains constant. That means continuity equation can be applied here. So continuity equation, you can know the mass flow rate of the steam. If you take any cross section, the mass flow rate is same. So that is A1 V1 by small v1. A is the area at that point, V1 is the velocity, and small v1 is the specific volume at that point. So the variation of steam pressure in the nozzle depends upon the velocity, specific volume and dryness fraction of the steam. So the variation of steam pressure. So steam pressure also varies along the length of this nozzle, which depends upon the velocity of the steam, specific volume of the steam. Specific volume, all of you know, is the volume occupied by unit mass of the substance and also the dryness fraction of the steam. The main use of steam nozzle in steam turbines to produce a jet of steam with high velocity. The application of steam nozzle is mainly in the thermal power plants, which uses the steam as the working fluid, especially at the entry of the steam turbine. So we are using this steam nozzle in order to create a jet of steam with very high velocity, which impinges on the blades and helps in converting the heat energy into mechanical energy. As I told earlier, so let us discuss about the types of nozzles. So we have three types: convergent nozzle, divergent nozzle and convergent divergent nozzle. So in the cross section of a nozzle decreases continuously from the entrance to exit, so it is called as the convergent nozzle. You can see it is having only one section, that is convergent section, wherein the diameter or the cross section of the nozzle decreases continuously from entrance to exit. So point 1 is the entrance point to the nozzle, point 2 is the exit point of the nozzle. So in case of a divergent nozzle, the cross section of the nozzle increases continuously from entrance to exit, right? So here you can see the second diagram. So from the entrance to exit, the diameter increases continuously, right? So such a nozzle is called as the divergent nozzle. The third type is a convergent divergent nozzle, where the cross section of the nozzle first decreases from its entrance to throat and then increases from throat to exit. So you can see the third diagram. So it is written convergent divergent nozzle. So 1 is the inlet, 2 is the exit. Now 1 to 3, you can see the cross section area or the diameter is continuously decreasing. So cross section area decreases from entrance to throat, and then you can see from point 3, this is the section 3, rather not point, the section 3, which is called as the throat. Further you can see the diameter continuously increases, which is the divergent section. So it has three parts: the convergent part of the nozzle, throat, as well as the divergent part of the nozzle. Flow of steam through convergent divergent nozzle. So our interest is to study the flow of steam through the convergent divergent nozzle. So in the convergent portion, steam enters the nozzle with a high pressure. So that is always steam at high pressure enters the nozzle, but with negligible velocity. So when compared to the exit velocity, it is almost negligible. So thus there is a drop in the steam pressure with a rise in its velocity. So as the steam passes through the convergent portion, though it enters at high pressure and low velocity, so it gains in velocity at the expense of the pressure. That means the drop in pressure takes place and the increase in velocity takes place in the convergent portion. There is also a drop in the enthalpy. So enthalpy, that is the total heat content of the steam, also drops, or it is also enthalpy, or the total heat of the steam. This drop of heat is not utilized in doing some external work, but it is converted into kinetic energy. So here, according to law of conservation of energy, so whatever the heat energy lost, that is by means of enthalpy drop, so it is not utilized for doing any work. Instead, it is converted into kinetic energy. So you know, kinetic energy is nothing but mE square, of mE square. So it is nothing but, so mass is same, so it is a gain in velocity. So conversion of this enthalpy or heat into kinetic energy is nothing but, it is a conversion of heat into high velocity steam, or into kinetic energy, heat energy into kinetic energy. Now coming to the divergent portion, there is further drop of steam pressure with a further rise in its velocity. Even the divergent portion, you can find further drop of steam pressure with a further drop in rise in, sorry, not drop, further rise in its velocity. Again, there is a drop in the enthalpy or total heat of steam, which is converted into kinetic energy. But here the gain in velocity is much less when compared to the convergent portion. There is a gain in velocity even in the divergent portion with drop in pressure as well as the drop in enthalpy. So the total heat of steam is now converted into kinetic energy, which again increases the velocity of the steam coming out of the nozzle. So now let us go through a few of the note points. The steam enters the nozzle with high pressure and negligible velocity, but leaves the nozzle with high velocity and small pressure. Important point. The pressure at which the steam leaves the nozzle is called as back pressure. Okay, the pressure at which the steam leaves the nozzle, so it is also called as the back pressure. No heat is supplied or rejected by the steam during the flow through a nozzle. So therefore, it is considered as isentropic flow. The corresponding expansion is considered as isentropic expansion. So no heat is supplied or rejected by the steam during the flow through the nozzle. So no heat supplied or rejected means, so it should be considered as the isentropic flow. Okay, and since it is an expansion, how do you call it as expansion? Because there is a drop in pressure. Okay, so when pressure drops, we generally call it as expansion process, so it can be considered as isentropic expansion. Okay, now let us discuss the nozzle efficiency. So what is meant by nozzle efficiency? It is the ratio of useful heat drop to the isentropic heat drop. So as we discussed in the previous slide, you know that the expansion process in the nozzle is assumed to be isentropic. So but in reality, because of friction and other factors, irreversibilities, so the actual heat drop will be less than the isentropic heat drop. And this ratio of useful heat drop or the actual heat drop to the isentropic heat drop, so it is called as the nozzle efficiency, and it is denoted by the term or letter K. So when the steam flows through a nozzle, some loss in its enthalpy or total heat takes place due to friction between the nozzle surface and the flowing steam. So this is what I told, the friction that arises between the nozzle surface and the flowing steam. So it results in some loss in enthalpy or the total heat. This can be best understood with the help of HS diagram or the molar chart as shown in figure. So now here you can see, let us assume the two cases. Now first case, I will consider the steam entering the nozzle is dry saturated. Can you see it is a saturated line? So it is a molar chart, all of you know. So this is a dry saturation line. So point A is on dry saturation line. So the quality of steam entering the nozzle is a dry saturated steam. So now A to B, can you see here A to B? So this is the isentropic expansion because it is HS diagram. So this is the entropy here. So it is 90 degree to the entropy axis. So AB, right? So AB is the isentropic expansion. So this is the actual ideal expansion that would have been taking place in the nozzle, but you can see the actual expansion is ending at point B. Sorry, B dash, not B, because this is B, this is B dash. Okay, now A to B dash is a useful heat drop. So how do you find that? So draw a horizontal line. So that enthalpy at point B dash is 3. Initial enthalpy is H1. So here enthalpy, useful enthalpy drop or the heat drop is nothing but H1 minus H3. What is isentropic heat drop? That is from A to B, this point. So that is nothing but enthalpy at point B is H2. So it is H1 minus H2. That means we can write the formula for K, that is nozzle efficiency, as H1 minus H3 divided by H1 minus H2. Now this is a case if the steam is dry saturated at the entry of the nozzle. Suppose if the steam is superheated like this, right? So point P, you can see it is in the superheated region. That means the quality of steam entering the nozzle is superheated. So isentropic expansion is P to Q and actual expansion is P to Q dash. So once again, if you draw a horizontal line to this, you can find out H1, here H2 and here H3. Now you can see the point Q is still in the superheated region. So that is depends upon the nozzle to what pressure it is expanded. So the point Q may be in the superheated region just above the saturation line, or it may be on the saturation line, or it may be in the two-phase region also, here also, with high quality of steam. Okay, so that depends upon the expansion to which pressure the expansion is taking place in the nozzle. So once again, you know that this P to Q dash is this actual vertical height between these 2 points. Okay, this I'm just showing the process. Since I'm not don't draw it on the dotted line, so I'm just drawing above that. So P to Q dash, this line is a useful heat drop, whereas this P to Q is a isentropic heat drop. Okay, so enthalpy difference between these points divided by the enthalpy difference between P and Q. So that is nothing but the nozzle efficiency. Okay. So this is the continuation of the explanation of what I gave in the previous slide. So the heat drop H1 minus H2, as I told you earlier, H1 is the initial enthalpy, H2 is the enthalpy at the end of the isentropic process. This is known as the isentropic heat drop, and H1 minus H3, you know, it is at the end of the actual expansion, is known as the useful heat drop. So the nozzle efficiency, you can write the expression as H1 minus H3 divided by H1 minus H2, as we discussed in the last slide. Now let us find out an expression for velocity of steam flowing through a nozzle. So for this, let us consider unit mass of steam flow through the nozzle, and let V1 be the velocity of steam at the entrance of the nozzle in meter per second. V2 is the velocity at any section considered in meter per second. H1 is the enthalpy or total heat of steam entering the nozzle. H2 is the total heat of steam or enthalpy of steam at any section considered. So here 1 is the inlet, 2 is the any section you can consider for that matter along the length of the nozzle. Similarly, P1 is the initial pressure of steam, that is at the entry in Newton per meter square. P2 is the final pressure of steam at the section 2. V1 is specific volume of steam, that is volume of 1 kg of steam. That means nothing but specific volume at pressure P1 in meter cube. Okay, volume of 1 kg, so it is written meter cube, and this is volume of 1 kg at section 2 or at pressure P2. A is the cross section area of the nozzle at the throat in meter square. So we know that for a steady flow process in a nozzle, right? So here there is no work involved. Okay, so there is no heat transfer from the nozzle. So nozzle surface outer surface is assumed to be insulated. So you have to use the formula, steady flow energy equation, Q minus W is equal to delta H plus delta K. Okay, delta P is neglected here, potential energy is neglected, assuming nozzle is horizontal. Okay, so now Q is 0, W is equal to 0, so delta H is equal to minus delta K. That means H2 minus H1 plus V2 square minus V1 square by 2000 is equal to 0. So if you rewrite that expression, so you can write left hand side for entrance and right hand side for the exit or at the section considered. So enthalpy at the inlet H1 plus kinetic energy at inlet is V1 square by 2000 is equal to enthalpy plus kinetic energy at the section considered plus losses, because from the section 1, that is entry to this point, so there may be some losses. Now suppose if we neglect the losses, then H1 plus V1 square by 2000 is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2000. This is the enthalpy at the entrance, this is the enthalpy at the section considered, this is the kinetic energy at the entry, this is the kinetic energy at the section considered. So try to understand this. Now after simplification you will get V2, because I want to write because expression for velocity you can see here. So I want to write the expression for V2 at any section of the nozzle. So that's nothing but V1 square plus 2000 into H1 minus H2 whole to the power half. That means square root of V1 square plus 2000 H1 minus H2. So rewriting, so it is V2 is equal to square root of V1 square plus 2000 HD. So HD is nothing but enthalpy or heat drop during expansion of steam in the nozzle. So that is H1 minus H2. Okay, so this is the enthalpy drop H1 minus H2. Now here the entrance velocity or velocity of approach V1, as we discussed, is negligible compared to V2. So when compared to the exit velocity or gain in velocity, so this entrance velocity is usually neglected. So in that case you can write V2 as square root of 2000 HT, or 2000 HT to the power half. Half is power to the power half means nothing but square root. Okay, so square root of 2000 is nothing but 44.72, so into root HT. So when inlet velocity is neglected, so directly you can use this expression to find out the exit velocity of the steam in a nozzle. So now let us discuss this note. In actual, there is always a certain amount of friction present between the steam and the nozzle surface. This reduces the heat drop by 10 to 15%, and thus the exit velocity of steam is also reduced correspondingly. Thus the above relation may be written as V2 is equal to 44.72 root of K into HT, because when there is a loss of 10 to 15%, so that should be considered, right? So K is the coefficient which allows for the friction loss. It is also known as the nozzle efficiency. So this K which is considered here is nothing but the nozzle efficiency. So that if suppose the nozzle efficiency is 0.85 or 85%, so from the H1 minus H2 or the enthalpy drop, you have to consider only 85% of the enthalpy. So that is why, so V2 equation is multiplied under the square root by K to the term HD. Okay, so this is the term actually 44.72 root of HD, but now it is K is multiplied. Okay, so this is to account 10 to 15% loss. So this is, as we discussed earlier, because of the friction present between the steam and the nozzle surface. Okay, so accordingly the exit velocity is reduced. So now if you find out, if you consider this nozzle efficiency, so the velocity as compared to this equation is less in this equation. So that is very, very important. Okay. Now let us derive an expression for the mass of steam discharge through the nozzle. So as we discussed earlier, we know that the flow of steam through the nozzle is considered as isentropic flow. So if an isentropic flow, the general relationship between pressure and volume is PV to the power n is equal to constant. So there is a general relationship for an isentropic flow. Now through the nozzle we gain kinetic energy, which is given by V2 square by 2. Also there is a heat drop or enthalpy drop in the nozzle, so which can be equated to the work done, which is nothing but H1 minus H2. So that is can be nothing but minus of integration from 1 to 2 VdP. So that's the work expression. The enthalpy drop is equal to work done. So enthalpy drop H1 minus H2. So work is minus of integration from 1 to 2 VdP. So there is a pressure change. Okay. So now for the isentropic flow, the work expression can be written as n by n minus 1 P1 V1 minus P2 V2. Now since gain in kinetic energy is equal to the heat drop, so you can write V2 square by 2 is equal to n by n minus 1 into P1 V1 minus P2 V2. That means this equation is equated to this. So V2 square by 2 is equal to n by n minus 1 P1 V1 minus P2 V2. Now from this term P1 V1, if you take outside, so you can write as n by n minus 1 P1 V1 inside the bracket 1 minus P2 V2 by P1 V1. Now we know that for a isentropic flow P1 V1 to the power n is equal to P2 V to the power n. That means this is the general relationship, general law is applied at the entrance and at the section 2 considered. This one is the entrance, okay. 2 is the section which is under consideration. So from this expression, see P1 V1 to the power n is equal to P2 V to the power n, you can write V2 by V1 to the is equal to P1 by P2 to the power 1 by n. So straight relationship. V2 by V1 is equal to P1 by P2 to the power 1 by n. Now if you want to take the reciprocal of the base here, instead of P1 by P2, if you want to write P2 by P1, then power becomes minus. That is very, very important. Okay, so therefore you can write V2 is equal to V1 into P2 by P1 to the power minus 1 by n. Continuing, substituting the value of V2 by V1 in equation 1. So just you can go back in the video and you can check that equation, or if you already noted in your notebook, you can check equation 1. So right hand side, left hand side is same, V2 square by 2. Here first term is same, or term outside bracket is same, n by n minus 1 into P1 V1. Here 1 is same. Here P2 by P1. Here in place of V2 by V1, it is written P2 by P1 to the power minus 1 by n. For further simplification, you can write the term inside the bracket as 1 minus, because base is same. Here also it is P2 by P1, here also it is P2 by P1. So power can be added. So it is 1 minus of 1 by n. So it is common denominator if we take, it becomes n minus 1 by n. So P2 by P1 to the power n minus 1 by n. Further simplification, V2 you want. So square means other side you take the square root, or you write power half. So here 2 gets multiplied to the other side. So 2 into can you see here, 2 into n by n minus 1 P1 V1, and 1 minus of this is same as it is written from the above expression, and everything should be under square root or to the power whole to the power half. Now the volume of steam flowing per second is nothing but cross section area of the nozzle into velocity of steam. Okay, volume of steam flowing per second. Okay, so that is nothing but cross section area of the nozzle into velocity. So area into velocity, because area is meter square, right? Velocity is meters per second. So it becomes meter cube per second. So that is nothing but the volume flow rate of the steam. Flow rate means per second, or volume flow per second, or volume flow rate of the steam. Both are same. And one volume of 1 kg of steam is nothing but specific volume of steam at pressure P2. So that is nothing but V2 meter cube per kg. So that is a specific volume, or volume of 1 kg of steam at pressure P2, which is nothing but V2. Specific volume at pressure P2 is V2. Now the mass of steam discharged through the nozzle per second, which is also called as the mass flow rate of steam, is found out by the expression volume of steam flowing per second divided by specific volume. So I'll show you how this results, this equation gives the mass flow rate. So volume flow of steam flowing per second, or volume flow rate of steam, is nothing but meter cube per second. Okay, and specific volume is nothing but meter cube per kg. Okay, meter cube per kg. So here meter cube gets cancelled, since kg is 1 by kg in the denominator, so it goes to numerator directly, so it becomes kg here, and per second is already there in the numerator, so it becomes kg per second. So unit of for mass flow rate is kg per second. So that is what mass flow rate is, nothing but volume flow rate by specific volume. So if you substitute, or if you write the expression mathematically, so m is A2 V2 by V2. So A2 V2 is nothing but the volume flow rate of the steam, area into velocity. V2 is a specific volume. Now if you substitute for velocity of steam from the previous one of the expressions, you get 2 A2 by V2 into 2 into n by n minus 1 P1 V1 into 1 minus P2 by P1 to the power n minus 1 by n, and the entire thing from here to here under square root, or you can write as to the power half. Now if you substitute the value of V2 from equation 2, that is for specific volume, which is nothing but V1 into P2 by P1 to the power minus 1 by n, after substitution and simplification, you can get m is equal to A2 by V1 into P1 by P2 to the power minus 1 by n, and under square root term, the term as it is. Now here, if you take V1 inside the square root, so it becomes V1 square, right? After taking inside, I am writing it here itself. So V1 square, this V1 goes up from this place. So V1 and this 1 V1 gets cancelled. So you'll get P1 by V1. This P1 as it is. Okay. And here you have P1 by P2 to the power minus 1 by n. So if I take the reciprocal of that, so it becomes P2 by P1 to the power 1 by n, because now minus becomes plus. Okay. When I change the, or take the reciprocal of the base. So P2 by P1 to the power 1 by n, now it is outside the square root term. When it's taken inside the square root term, so it becomes 2 by n, because it has to be taken through square. So 2 by n. So that is what it's taken inside, and it's multiplied to the first term. So then you will get P2 by P1 to the power 2 by n, same term. And when it is multiplied to second term, so you know that it's P2 by P1 base same, here also base same. So here power is 2 by n. Here is power n minus 1 by n, so denominator is same n, so 2 plus n minus 1, so it becomes n plus 1, so plus 2 n minus 1, it becomes plus 1, so it is n plus 1 by n. So this is how you got the expression for the mass of steam discharge through the nozzle as m is equal to A2 under square root 2 into n by n minus 1 P1 by V1 bracket P2 by P1 to the power 2 by n minus P2 by P1 to the power n plus 1 by n. So this is the expression for the mass of steam discharge through the nozzle. Now let us discuss the critical pressure ratio and condition for maximum discharge. So there is only one value of the ratio P2 by P1 which produces maximum discharge from the nozzle. So from the previous expression you have seen, so it is purely depending upon the P2 by P1. So there should be one particular value of P2 by P1 for which the nozzle should give the maximum discharge. So this ratio P2 by P1 is obtained by differentiating the right hand side of the above equation and equate it to 0 for maximum discharge. So above equation, if you differentiate with respect to P2 by P1 and equate it to 0, so then you will get the condition for the maximum discharge. And after differentiating and simplifying, so I am giving direct equation. So P2 by P1 is equal to 2 by n plus 1 to the power n by n minus 1. So here P2 by P1 is known as the critical pressure ratio, and P2 is at the throat is known as the critical pressure. So here the P2 by P1, so that should be the pressure ratio at the throat. Okay, so P2 is the pressure at the throat, and P2 by P1 is known as the critical pressure ratio. Now once you find out the condition for the maximum discharge, that is the condition for the P2 by P1, what should be the value of P2 by P1. So let us find out the expression for maximum discharge. So already you have the equation for the mass flow rate that is equation number 3. Now we have the condition for maximum discharge from equation 4. That means in the equation for 3, that is in place of P2 by P1, you have to replace it by 2 by n plus 1 to the power n by n minus 1. So the m max, it becomes m max. A2 is written outside the square root term. So inside the square root, 2 into n by n minus 1, P1 by V1. Now in place of P2 by P1, you have 2 by n plus 1 to the power n minus 1. Here also in place of P2 by P1. So this was there earlier, P2 by P1 to the power 2 by n. Here also n plus 1 by n. So here after simplification, so this n gets cancelled with this n. Here also this n gets cancelled with this n. So you'll get 2 by n plus 1 to the power 2 by n minus 1. Here 2 by n plus 1 to the power n plus 1 by n minus 1. Rest of the terms as it is, and outside the square root term also. So further simplification, that means this term, if you take outside the bracket here 2 by n plus 1 to the power n plus 1 by n minus 1. So here you'll get the power as 2 by n minus 1 into n plus 1 by n minus 1. Okay, because you are taking it outside the bracket. This term is taken outside the bracket. Okay, so further simplification. So here m max A2. So inside the square root term, this is as it is, 2 into n by n minus 1 P1 V1 into 2 by n plus 1 to the power n plus 1 by n minus 1. Here now you can see same expression is written from the previous slide, 2 by n plus 1 to the power 2 by n minus 1 minus n plus 1 by n minus 1. So common denominator is n minus 1. So numerator it becomes 2 minus n minus 1. So you can write as n 2 minus of n minus of 1, correct? So it becomes minus n plus 1. So this you can write as minus, take outside the bracket, you can write as minus of n minus 1. Minus of n minus 1, and denominator, common denominator is already n minus 1. Okay, common denominator is n minus 1. So this n minus 1, this n minus 1 gets cancelled, it becomes minus 1. So this is how this gets simplified here, this place. Okay, so if it is 2 by n plus 1 to the power minus 1, next equation I can write as reciprocal. I take the reciprocal of the base as n plus 1 by 2. So power 1 you can write, or you can ignore that. Now here if you check out, so again you can simplify n plus 1 by 2, n plus 1 by 2 minus 1. So take common denominator, it becomes n plus 1 minus 2 divided by 2. That becomes n minus 1 by 2. You see, n minus 1 by 2. Now this n minus 1 gets cancelled with this n minus 1. This 2 gets cancelled with this 2. So you remain with n into P1 V1 into 2 by n plus 1, that is this term, to the power n plus 1 by n minus 1. So this is the expression for maximum discharge in terms of area at the throat, pressure at the inlet, and specific volume at the inlet, and the index of expansion, that is small n. So with this I conclude this lecture number 7 for this module number 5, and I have one more lecture, that is lecture number 8, and we will continue in that. Okay, thank you.